Max Blumenthal is with us, ladies and gentlemen, from the Grayzone. You know him as the award-winning journalist and editor of the Grayzone. Please welcome Max Blumenthal. Hi, Max.
Hey, Jimmy. How's it going? What's up, Kurt?
Hey, man.
So let's just get to the story I want to really cover today is the reaction to Matt Taibbi, who broke the story about how Twitter is censored before Elon Musk. Elon Musk is making those materials available that show the collusion between government and social media and political organizations and corporations and all kinds of crazy collusion to limit your free speech. And so Matt Taibbi covered it. And because remember, and he covered and mostly centered around the Hunter Biden suppression of the Hunter Biden's laptop story. He revealed about how they tried to make up excuses to keep it suppressed and censored. And it was fake, but so we had to live through this. Vile, baseless conspiracy theories are spreading about Hunter Biden, and despite pledges to curb misinformation in the lead up to the election, social media sites aren't stopping them. That's from the Rolling Stone, and that's Drew Holden. I got to give him credit. He said on that day, October 22nd, 2020, he said this could be an interesting tweet to revisit in a few weeks or months. But he was right on. He was prescient. Congrats to Drew Holden who got that. So he reveals what happened on Twitter, how Twitter suppressed Hunter Biden's laptop, and people went nuts. When I say people, I mean people paid by billionaires and establishment corporate media. That's what I'm talking about. So this sleazy pro-censorship pack of liberal employees of media corporations united last night to attack Matt Taibbi as they do any journalist who breaks a real story about real power centers. And because they were so desperate to discredit it, showed what they are. Watch. First of all, so even Mediaite caught this. Mediaite figured out there was like a template to how to attack Matt Taibbi over this. And the template was construct tweet, say formerly respected or once great. They would say, Matt Taibbi, I used to love him. He was once great. And then call it a PR or a comms or say he's doing PR. And then say he's doing it for the world's richest man or the richest person in the world. And then do a quote thread, a thread. And so here, I'll show you some of them. By the way, hang on, let me go back to this. Hunter Biden's Twitter reveal comes in barrage of Matt Taibbi tweets. Oh, yeah. I like how it's worded. So the problem is that he used too many tweets. That's the problem. Not the problem is that, hey, we found out how they were censoring and why and for who. Musk's Twitter reveal revealed on Twitter. So what? Where else would he reveal it? Through the media that he's exposing? The headline's great for teaching public relations, isn't it? So what's the story? Twitter colluded with government and corporate media to suppress a story before an election. Okay, so how do we PR this? Well, first it's Musk's Hunter Biden reveal. What? Musk? I hate that guy. I don't want to hear him reveal anything. Is this like his stupid Mars ideal or that stupid car he has that all my rich friends bought and now it's awkward for us? It's a barrage. A rambling barrage of tweets, Kurt. By Matt Taibbi. He didn't even have the decency to keep it under 180 characters.
Remember when they used to say rambling in everybody's manifesto? The rambling manifesto.
Also, in fairness to Newsweek, this isn't anything Sam Harris didn't already tell us faster and funnier. How about that?
That's true.
So let me just bring in Max Blumenthal just before I show a lot of the crazy tweets, just give me your reaction real fast to what happened to Matt Taibbi on Twitter for actually doing journalism.
Yeah, it's like Matt Taibbi apparently got these leaks, and it's forbidden in journalism to report leaks, apparently. Especially if you get leaks from a powerful person. No one in mainstream media does that. No one in establishment media gets things from powerful sources and then disseminates them to the public. But of course, there's a difference. I mean, there's so much irony in the reactions. I guess you're going to go through the reactions.
Yeah. You want me to show some of them? Okay, here's some of them.
Yeah. Let's.
Matt Taibbi always was and still remains a fraud. Doing PR for the richest person in the world should come as no surprise. From calling Goldman Sachs a vampire squid to giving free PR to the world's richest billionaire man, what a career journey. I continue to follow Matt Taibbi as he descended from legitimate journalism into both sidesism over the years because I figured it was important to hear both sides. But now he's just a PR outlet for the world's richest man. That's all they keep saying. The Taibbi thread is a great example of overwriting when you don't have the goods, but you don't want to admit you're just doing PR for the world's richest person. Ooh. Matt Taibbi went from fierce and intrepid journalist taking aim at the wealthy and powerful to doing mundane PR for the world's richest huckster.
Wait, did you see that? 31 likes was all he got.
That's all he got was 31 likes.
He's a comedian, or he tried to be a comedian.
No.
Oh, of course.
So I like what the Chicago Thinker said. He says, Matt Taibbi does PR for the richest man on the planet, whereas I am principled enough to only do PR for the central bankers, Hollywood, the national security state, Big Pharma, and the Democratic Party. It's not the flex most corporate journalists think it is. These guys are furious at Taibbi, but none of them can actually point to anything he's doing wrong. He's revealing details about an important event using primary sources. There is no evidence he's distorting anything. He's doing journalism, and they are mad about it. Well, these are hacks, and therefore all journalism is PR to them. They can't even get their heads around the idea of not doing PR. So here he says the more major stories you break of consequence, the more employees of media corporations hate you. It's why they want Julian Assange jailed. Part is standard petty jealousies, but most of it is people in power centers are their friends and they don't want them exposed. And here's Ben Collins. Imagine throwing it all away to do PR work for the richest person in the world. Humiliating shit. He works for NBC News. Who do you think you serve?
I mean, that should be his Twitter tag, humiliating shit.
I'm guessing Ben Collins
covers disinformation, extremism, and the internet for NBC News. That's what his NBC bio says.
That's how you know he's the worst of the worst.
Yeah.
In other words, Ben Collins is a rent boy for the U.S. intelligence apparatus. That's the translation of that bio.
I'm guessing Ben Collins is going to be exposed in another barrage of Musk tweets coming.
Isn't he?
Well, just so ironic. I mean, look at Ben Collins' entire archive. Everything is an oppo dump from the Democrats or something from the Senate Intelligence Committee about Russiagate, going back to when he was at the Daily Beast. He was just a stenographer for whatever the PSYOP of the time was. And I'm looking at his article. Reddit rises up against CEO for hiding Russian trolls. That's March 5th, 2018. Russians used Reddit and Tumblr to troll the 2016 election. Then that same day he published this piece, leaked secret documents from Russia's election trolls. So, very brave of him to basically serve as the PR man for the Senate Intelligence Committee, which is basically the Senate wing of the CIA. And now he's talking about trashing Taibbi for not speaking truth to power. But what are the contents of these leaks? The contents are counter-hegemonic. They actually challenge power because they show how the state is using private social media entities to censor factual news stories that obstruct its political imperatives. In this case, it was Biden winning the 2020 election. It is a First Amendment violation because the state is seeking an end around so it doesn't have to abide by the First Amendment. It's using social media companies who claim to be private, telling them what to do behind the scenes with no accountability or transparency, no public input. We don't even know this is happening. And at some points, you weren't even allowed to send a DM of stories about Hunter Biden's laptop. And then they're saying, well, this has nothing to do with the First Amendment. Some guy owns Twitter. If you don't want to participate, don't participate. But when you are seeking a way around the First Amendment and influencing politics, and you are the state, that is a First Amendment violation. So this is an expose of corruption. Yes, it is a leak from a very powerful person, but its contents and the impact of those contents are counter-hegemonic, which is why every establishment tool lined up to defend the regime.
Boy, it was really something. It wasn't just no-names like Ben Collins. It was people like Chrissy Hayes over at MSNBC. Yeah. I mean, every hack in the business, everybody. I don't know. I didn't check Dan Rather. I'm sure Dan Rather got in on it too. Here's what your colleague Aaron Mate said about this Ben Collins tweet, the guy from NBC News. The claim that Hunter Biden's laptop was Russian disinformation was a blatant lie that resulted in blatant censorship. No one is obligated to care about that, but why, especially a journalist who covers disinformation, why attack another journalist for exposing the truth? Because this guy serves the oligarchy and the establishment. He doesn't serve the truth. He doesn't serve your viewers. He serves the money. That's exactly what that is. And he serves the establishment. And so Elon Musk and what Matt Taibbi did was expose the establishment's collusion with social media, the establishment that he is hired and paid by to defend. They are not watchdogs. They are guard dogs for the establishment.
By the way, he's another one like Taylor Lorenz, where like their personal shit is all hit you can't find.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Or that one that wrote about you where they try to blame Paul Pelosi on you.
Yeah.
They keep their private thing private, but yours should be exposed at the earliest convenience.
That's right. Mehdi Hassan, classic hack. He says, imagine volunteering to do PR work for the world's richest man on Friday night. Mehdi Hassan works for MSNBC. He works for the... What don't you work for? You work for Wall Street. You work for the War Machine. You work for the health insurance company. You work for General Electric. I'm pretty sure that anyway. He said in service of nakedly and cynically right-wing narratives, and then pretending you're speaking truth to power. Watching Matt's unbelievable fall into lazy, reactionary commentator and now PR hand for the world's richest man is depressing.
Lazy. What is he, just reporting facts, not even weaving it into the narrative that we want?
He's not even bending himself in a pretzel to defend the establishment while reporting this. Lazy.
So, like the world's richest man is Elon, because it's always changing hands, that title.
I thought it was Jeff Bezos.
I thought it was Jeff Bezos, the owner of the Washington Post.
Right?
So I don't know if there's any WAPO columnists trashing Taibbi, but that would be pretty ironic.
Whoever it is, it's not who you're gonna see on Forbes as the richest man in the world.
Well, there is. I do have someone in here who works for Bloomberg. He's pretty rich. And he says that. I'll show it to you in a second. But here's a guy named Jay Buller. Don't know him. The Taibbi thing is so depressing. I was a defender well into his semi-recent heel turn. But the words these motherfuckers use, man. His heel turn.
Yeah, right.
But to see a once great journalist...
Heel turn is like instant, so how can it be semi-recent?
Right.
Yeah, that's right.
Wouldn't it be instant?
But to see a once great journalist turn into a pathetic lapdog for the world's richest man is too much. This reminds me of what people say about me, because they go, oh, Jimmy Dore is just going for right-wing clicks. It's like, I already had a very successful show. I was already selling out theaters coast to coast. I didn't need to all of a sudden.
Because you're lazy.
I didn't. Why would I all of a sudden just start lying for absolutely no reason? I was great up until then. Just all of a sudden, he just went nuts for no reason. Except, no, I just kept telling the same truths about the same Democratic Party that you're defenders of. That's all that is.
That's called being lazy.
1 minute you're scourging, yeah. Scourging Goldman Sachs. The next you're doing PR for the richest man in the world. Funny old.
Maybe scourging you, dude.
How about Occupy Democrats? I don't know what the fuck this organization does. Twitter doesn't have a PR department anymore, so the world's richest man turned to Matt Taibbi.
I like that because they're occupied by Democrats now,
and they try to say it's a nothing burger. So that's what they're tweeting. They're saying it's a nothing burger. So the Occupy Democrats, I guess, are just Democrats. Yeah.
So the thing is this is like when Scientology tells Scientologists not to go online and look at stuff.
Yeah.
Like, that's what this is.
That's what this is.
Yeah.
They're telling other Democrats, don't look at this. So here, this guy works for Bloomberg. So he works for Bloomberg, one of the richest guys in the world. He says editors are great, not just because they make your work sharper, but because you can ask them things like, hey, should I be doing PR for the richest man on the planet? This is amazing.
Yeah, he's a real, so he used to be a big video game guy, and he actually did good work.
This guy?
Exposing labor practices in like that's like one of the,
this guy.
Yeah, Jason Schreier. And then, but he was always would side with it's always like on the side of access journalism ultimately.
Of course.
So I guess he must have moved up to Bloomberg.
Well, he's at Bloomberg.
He thinks that's a good example of a guy who kind of knows what reporting is, but also thinks it's your obligation to stick with the established.
Yeah.
I'm an institutionalist like Brian Wilson.
Well, I heard somebody refer to it. They used to refer to of the sugar high that journalists got by talking about Russiagate and Trump, right? And
Gamergate was his.
And now they got to replace. Now they got to replace it with something. So now they're replacing it with Elon.
Yeah,
Elon's become their Trump, and the truth has become their enemy. The truth is now bad.
Well, he's happy that editors would keep this from being reported.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Here is Wahaha Ali. He says good Russian disinformation meant to harm our democracy shouldn't be given mainstream platforms. So this is when he was tweeting about he was all for it censoring an accurate news story. So he's all for censoring. So would be considered a right-wing authoritarian, even though his name is Wahaha Ali. He would be considered a right-wing authoritarian. That's what he actually is. That's what he actually is. He's a censorious right-wing authoritarian. That's what he actually is. That's what this reveals. That's his flex. And now he writes this. So he was for censoring. And now he writes this. Matt Taibbi, what sad, disgraceful downfall. I swear, kids, he did good work back in the day. Should be a cautionary tale for everyone. Selling your soul for the richest white nationalist.
Oh my God. Nice. I like
he's
that.
Not the richest man. He's just the richest white nationalist.
Selling your soul for the richest white nationalist on earth. Well, he'll eat well for the rest of his life, I guess. But is it worth it? Wahaha Ali, who is paying you? Are you doing that for free? What if you're doing that for free?
This guy is one of the biggest tools in the whole centrist industry. He came out of the Center for American Progress, and then this phony operation that was designed to basically cultivate Muslim support for Israel. They started sending him on free trips
like
to
Jews
Israel.
For Jesus kind of.
He would write these pained articles. He's not even Palestinian. He would write all these and so I don't see how he can say he has some special connection there, but he would write these pained articles about how, he sees both sides and it's horrible. But he kept going on these pro-Israel or Israel-sponsored trips. There was a right-wing rabbi who was involved in it, along with a guy from the Fethullah Gulen cult of Turkey, and that kind of elevated him. It got him in the pages of the New York Times, and he just then took on the views of the regime. MSNBC, the New York Times made him their safe token Muslim columnist, and he started attacking Russians in the same way that Muslim Americans were attacked during the Bush era and the War on Terror, that they're all this great threat to America, that they're burrowing from within. And here he is. He will do the work of the establishment, whatever it is, whatever the messaging requires. And, if there was any downfall, it was his, because he at least contributed to once a report on Islamophobia in the U.S. on how the FBI was actually setting up Muslim mentally disturbed young men to fuel the war on terror, how it was influencing U.S. politics. And then he goes and does the same thing about Russians and Russia from the Democratic side. I mean, you could just talk about any of these figures. And one thing I noticed is that when you look at their headshots, the ones with blue checks, like the ones I recognize, they all have professional headshots, and they're all like,
yes,
like they're trying to sell you a used car or something. Like that's how you know.
Well, it's interesting what he says. I swear, kids, he did good work back in the day. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened. I'm not sure what happened was he stopped doing good work. I think what happened was he kept doing good work, and that is a threat to you guys.
Well, you change the definition of what good work is.
That's
and
all.
He got left behind.
Well, here's that Ben Collins again. He says Elon Musk paid $44 billion to discover what we already knew. Content moderation is messy and involves whole teams of people with a range of viewpoints trying to appease different political factions. Why? Why would you try to appease different political That's what your litmus test. It's messy. We're trying
I got some on my face.
We're trying to make the Jews happy. We're trying to make the Arabs happy. We're trying to make the Nazis happy in Ukraine. We're trying to make everybody happy at the same time.
It's messy. He's saying there's no agenda behind any of this censorship. It's just messy.
Does he mean messy like the withdrawal from Afghanistan messy or pandemic response messy? Or do you mean illegal? You mean illegal, messy? He then, so this is he ends his tweet by, he then gave leaks to a Substack man to present. He calls him a Substack man.
That's like a bohunk in an 80s movie. That's like, wait, how could he fall so far if he was already the lowest thing there is, a Substack man?
It's like Bill Maher making fun of podcasters 10 years ago. That's what that is.
Or Stern, yeah.
Stop reading outside verified channels.
Here's
why is leaks in scare like it wasn't a leak?
Right.
What is a leak?
The level of just casual cattiness and condescension among this set is so off the charts. If trusted mainstream media is slipping, they have no one to blame but themselves. 100%. 100%. Ben Collins could live to be 500 years old, get every obscure citizen with problematic views banned from Facebook, and still wouldn't get close to Taibbi's journalistic accomplishments. But he's a liberal and thus authoritarian, so believes legitimacy requires you to work for a big corporation. See? Substack man. So if you don't work for a big corporation, you're a bad person.
That's what Colbert told me, and I still believe it.
That's what Colbert says. Matt Taibbi actually tweeted out this article. So media, I put together these responses, and he tweeted out the article saying, looking forward to going through all the tweets complaining about PR for the richest man on earth and seeing how many of them have run stories for the anonymous sources at the FBI, the CIA, the Pentagon, the White House, etc., etc. Of course they are. Of course those are. But it just goes to show you that just the swamp, Trump should have referred to the media as the swamp, not Washington. The corporate media, just what a swamp. They are worse than they have less character than the politicians they cover. It's amazing. Sort of ironic seeing Matt Taibbi doing PR for the richest man a day after the president and media did round-the-clock PR for railroad barons to screw over workers out of sick pay.
The Center for Incremental Progress.
It's a good Twitter thread. I like them. It's a good Twitter thread. So they put together a video of CNN doing the bullshit PR for them.
A rail strike is one of the most disruptive and expensive things that can happen to an economy.
A rail shutdown or strike would disrupt supply chains.
A strike means food prices could skyrocket.
Many experts are saying would be an economic catastrophe.
That could mean a big shortage and massive price hikes. Even gas prices could increase.
And it also could cost the economy $1 billion within the first week.
That would cripple the economy.
I'm not setting aside the concerns of your members, but are you and your members willing to stop the rails, in effect, and accept those costs to the U.S. economy?
Do you believe a strike is worth it if it cripples the U.S. economy and costs?
Yeah, so anyway, yes, we are. We are setting aside those concerns. That's how a fucking strike works, asshole. Glenn Greenwald says, watching little obedient dweebs at NBC, CNN, and the Daily Beast claim Matt Taibbi as a servant to power is the most brazen case of projection I've ever seen. Taibbi spent his career and still does exposing Wall Street and CIA's lies. They are their loyal mouthpieces. That is the truth. That is true. And tip of the hat, Matt's had me on his show twice. So I was on Useful Idiots twice. I don't think he does that show anymore.
No, it's Aaron now.
I think he moved on. He does his own thing with that guy, Walter Kim.
He and Katie had me on once, and we talked about the white helmets in Syria. is one of many topics. And it triggered a letter signed by hundreds of regime changers and academics who wanted to bomb the crap out of Syria, to Rolling Stone demanding their show be canceled.
Wow.
Along with a dossier of me. They put together a dossier on how I'm like the worst person pre-Kanye. And Matt didn't, he wasn't frazzled at all. He didn't back down. He wasn't remotely disturbed by it because he was willing to look at the facts, whereas most others weren't.
Yeah. So ironically, when I did that podcast the first time, or was it the second time, they edited out shit I said. And I was like, what? You can't fucking do that on a podcast. They're acting like it was a news story. Like, we always edit our news stories. It's not a fucking news story. It's a podcast. A podcast.
No, what were you saying?
They took out shit that I said that they thought that they couldn't substantiate or whatever. I'm like, nobody's looking at this as it's an interview. It's not on you. It's on me. Anyway, it was a little, we talked about it afterwards when we settled. It was annoying for sure. So that's just, but anyway, Matt's done a lot of great work and this is also great work. So, it certainly outweighs anything, but, Max, I still can't, I'm still flabbergasted at it. In one sense, I feel horrible for Matt Taibbi, right? Because I know what that feels like when you're being unfairly persecuted publicly like that, and you're just being called just like your character's being dragged through the mud in the worst ways possible, as if he has no character instead of the exact opposite. And you're being done by it's being done by corporate hacks with large platforms. And I know that, but at the same time, it also made me feel better about when it happens to me. So someone who's got such a pedigree like Matt Taibbi, to have that happen to him makes me feel better about when it happens to me. That's all. And, here I am doing a video to help support Matt Taibbi and get the truth out about him. So I hope when it happens to me, he does a video for me.
Well, I mean, you talked about how people at a certain point.
I was saying that as a joke, by the way. No one laughed. Everybody took me at fucking.
Thought you were making a Christmas wish.
Everybody took me at face value. I'm like,
dead serious.
I guess I'm not half as funny as I thought I was. I told a joke in front of a room full of people. Not one of them thought I was joking.
There's some real emotion behind that.
Okay, I'm sorry, Max. I interrupted you.
No, it's all right. I was like preparing my own lines and just stopped listening.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, it's just this whole what happened to you is one of the many responses and you get it all the time. You got it from the TYT crowd and other people. What happened to you? It's like you're no longer advancing our agenda, but we're not going to deal with the facts that you're presenting. We're not going to deal with the substance. We're going to talk about you, and you are no longer part of our club. So we're disowning you. That's what I got constantly on, Syria, like exposing the white helmets as an information warfare operation to cultivate public support for regime change and a gigantic fraud. Or COVID, when I started calling out the vaccine mandates. It's, people embrace you for one thing, and then they disown you and say, what happened to you? And you just have to get over it to be able to tell the truth. And those people don't want the truth. They just want their worldview presented to them again and again until they live in an alternative reality.
Ever since the Democrats couldn't beat a game show host, nobody ever engages your ideas anymore. They just go to, if they don't agree with your idea, if you tell a truth about the Democratic Party that they don't like, or Joe Biden or anything, they immediately just start smearing you. That's just the way it is. They just call you a right winger. As soon as you get to the left of the Democratic Party, the first order of business, I've said this since Bernie, the first order of business is to call you a right winger. And now this to call you a white supremacist and a right winger. And now they're calling you white nationalists. Go ahead, Kurt.
So I went through the whole ringer in 2014 or 15, and what happened is a bunch of these people were like nobody bloggers or like HuffPo sharecroppers.
Right.
And they've been moving up in the regular media at the same time as, when I was doing comedy. So now a bunch of them are in the mainstream press doing the same dumb tricks they did. The only losers who didn't make hay out of I guess Gamergate and stuff like that still bring up Gamergate. These people moved on to Russiagates and stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, again, now you know why no people trust Congress more than they trust the media. That's what else can I tell you? And they'll try to tell you the misinformers are the people on YouTube. You got to be careful. We're gonna radicalize your kid with facts and truth. But anyway, Max, I know you have to run, so thank you very much for making time. Do you want to tell people where you're going, or is that a secret? Yeah,
actually, the Michael V. Hayden Center, named for the former CIA and NSA director Michael Hayden, is having an event on Julian Assange tonight. Basically, why Julian Assange is a digital terrorist, and it's at the National Press Club. So I thought
at the National Press Club, the National Press Club is letting the CIA. Is Hayden from the CIA? Where's he from?
Yeah.
The CIA is giving a platform to the CIA to smear a journalist that the government's trying to kill for doing journalism.
The National Journalist Assassination Club. I don't know. I mean, maybe it's just if you pay for a room, you can do whatever you want.
It's probably that.
But there's definitely there's going to be a lot of irony in the air, and I know the Assange solidarity community of the area. People are coming from out of town to this event, so I think it's going to be interesting. There's a live stream too, but I would rather watch Jimmy.
Oh, okay. Me too. All right. Well, I know you're going to mix it up there, and you're going to do what's right. I can't wait to see the video. Okay, Max.
I'll report back, and if Matt Taibbi's watching, come on our live stream this week.
boy, he's a hot ticket. I bet he's going to go right to Bill Maher. He's not going to fuck around with us anymore. He goes right to Bill Maher. Right? I saw he did Andrew Cuomo's show the other day. Did you see that? Andrew Cuomo, where he sits.
I didn't know Andrew Cuomo still existed. So.
He's doing a show with a T-shirt.
Chris Cuomo.
I'm sorry, Chris Cuomo. Yeah, I said Andrew.
Oh, Andrew.
Chris Cuomo show. So Chris Cuomo now, and he's rewriting history. He said he knew Hillary was going to lose, and he knew they weren't doing the right campaigning.
What's the show called? No Cuomo. I knew Hillary was going to lose. No Cuomo.
No Cuomo.
No Cuomo. He just says that.
I tried to tell my brother she's going to lose. My brother should have been president. Why didn't they want my brother?
No Cuomo, but my brother should have been president.
He won an Emmy. He's the best communicator ever.
Hey, we're doing live stand-up comedy in Los Angeles, December 9th, 16th, 23rd, and 30th. And we're going to be in Tempe, Milwaukee, Minneapolis, Nashville. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for all those tickets. See you there.